Welcome to the MouseKast. MouseKast is yet another Tuesday night. We have Meaghan and Hawk, Meaghan and Chuck, and the show should be out of sight. This is where the mind meets the magic. We dive a little deeper every time. Theme parks, cruise ships, and travel. If you don't listen, maybe now it's time. This is where the mind meets the magic. We dive a little deeper every time. Theme parks, cruise ships, and travel. If you don't listen, maybe now it's the time. MouseKast podcast is diving in.
Hello and welcome to MouseKast, the podcast where the mind meets the magic. Hey, it is episode 95 and we're going to start something new tonight. It's called Matt's Musings. And really, none of us, myself, Hawk, or Meaghan, have no idea what Matt's got rattling around in his head right there. And who knows, maybe, does Matt even know what he's got rattling around in his head? We'll find out.
Mostly rocks.
Mostly rocks. But first, welcome, Hawk, Matt, and Meaghan. How are you guys doing?
Doing good. It's finally starting to feel like fall around here.
It is. Probably except for Florida.
We've had cool nights. It hasn't been bad. It's been down in the 60s in the evening sometimes.
Cool, Florida cool, but you know. Matt, have you seen any flakes yet?
No, don't say no. We don't wish that upon it. No. That four-letter S word. I don't want to hear it.
Well, you never know. We'll see what happens. So before we get to Matt's Musings, though, we did want to talk a little bit about one little bit of news that was announced earlier this week, and Patrick Warburton popped up a little surprise video online. A lot of folks, I'm sure, have probably seen. Hello and welcome to Soarin' Across America. And so this is coming to both Disneyland and Walt Disney World for next summer. And of course, this is also in concert with America's 250th birthday. So this idea of kind of Soarin' version 3, we had Soarin' over California, and then we had Soarin' around the world. This is Soarin' over America, and it's going to be highlighting different landmarks in the United States. And so, folks, if you're watching or listening, or you're listening to the podcast, go out to our Facebook channel. We put out a poll with several different American landmarks in mind, or add your own. Remember, you can vote for as many as you want. Where do you think, and what American landmarks do you think should be included in the new Soarin' Across America video coming next summer? What do you guys think? Hawk, what do you think about Soarin' Across America?
I think you're going to see Boston, Philly, DC. I mean, we're going into the 250th anniversary of the country. Yeah. I think you'll see some of the national parks, probably, Yellowstone, Zion, you'll see some of those places. Would be my guess. Mm-hmm. Just trying to kind of touch on some of the patriotism of the country for sure.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. Yeah, Meaghan?
I wonder how many they're going to try to include as, looking at the country as a whole and trying to be inclusive, across, as many of the 50 states as they can, rolling in, trying to maybe hit on some of the things that people forget about. I grew up in St. Louis. I'm hoping they include the arch. As an adult, I feel like it fits. As a kid, I would have said, what's the big deal? It's an arch. But after, growing up and kind of being a little bit more aware of the significance, I think when you grow up someplace, maybe you don't realize the significance or the importance of it. So I would hope that St. Louis would be in there. Mount Rushmore, I think.
Yeah, that would be a great one.
Have you ever gone up in there, Meaghan? Have you ever gone up to the top?
No. Oh, no. That's and it rocks. Woo. Boy,
so we've gone up probably 6 or 7 times when my dad was living out there. And if you've never gone into the museum underneath and learned the history of the arch, I'll tell you, if you ever get to St. Louis, like getting out and experiencing, there's a whole museum underneath that arch that is absolutely incredible. Mm-hmm. And then to actually go up in the train and see how it's designed to, it's a train and an elevator kind of combined. And the way it rolls up and the cars begin to kind of turn and stagger on top of each other. And then it gets up into the archway, and there's actually this little narrow exit. You walk up some stairs, but if you got stuck, there's stairs all the way down on the inside, and there's the little elevator, and there's a little hello, Mark.
Well, Mark is here. Caleb is here.
And
Alrighty.
there's a cool little walkway that you can look out, and one of the coolest views into actually the St. Louis Cardinals baseball stadium, into Busch Stadium, is from
the arch. Yeah.
Of the arch, looking down in. It's super cool.
Yeah, so I think there's going to be quite a few. I think they'll probably add the DC Mall. That's one that I think would lend itself very well to a helicopter flying, because remember, it's going to be a helicopter doing this, not a drone, at least according to the post that was made. So, Matt, what do you think? Any ideas of your thoughts of this whole concept of soaring across America?
You guys basically touched on everything I was thinking was big landmarks. Mount Rushmore, the Arch, Grand Canyon would be kind of a cool fly through. And then Hawk touching on the various cities, Boston, Philly, DC, all that kind of stuff along the East Coast and whatnot, like bringing that into it. And of course, you're going to include, I'm sure, Disney in there somehow between the castles and stuff like that.
Oh, I'm sure they're going to have the tag between the two parks. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So it'll be interesting. You won't see me on the ride, but I'll YouTube it.
There you go. Well, so, and again, for those that are watching, or if you're listening on our podcast, jump onto our Facebook page and share your thoughts in our poll. What different American landmarks do you think should be included in Soaring Across America? And of course, we'll find out which ones made the cut and which ones didn't coming up next summer. But tonight, we're starting something new. Matt has some musings, just some ideas that he has come up with and just kicking around. So with that, Matt, what are you musing about?
I'm musing about a lot tonight, besides the rocks rattling around in my head. So a question I've always kind of thought about, and I haven't heard a lot of discussion about, is how to introduce Disney music into weddings and how you would do that. I've always been kind of curious on if you're gonna do Disney music, your first dance, the groomsmen walking in, the bridesmaids walking in, stuff like that. So I was kind of interested to see what other people had in mind for this topic. I've heard things here and there, but it's just I'm more curious. It's hey, what does everybody else think about?
All right, Megan, you pointed. And this is one that's kind of near and dear, because actually I've got a wedding I'm planning for next June, so that's another story. But
well, I walked down the aisle to "So This Is Love" from Cinderella. Peebo Bryson did a recording of it years ago, and that's the version that I walked down the aisle to, and it was perfect. It was something that I've been thinking about for years before I met my husband. My brother also walked down the aisle at his wedding to "You've Got a Friend in Me," and he and my parents walked down the aisle, and my dad actually was walking behind my mom and my brother, and he actually started dancing and twirling, and everybody started laughing, and my mom got mad at my brother because she thought he was doing something goofy that she couldn't see, and nobody realized my dad was dancing. It was great. But we love Disney music at our weddings in my family. That's how we roll over here. We're all about the Disney music weddings.
So, folks at home, if you are watching as well, share out your thoughts. Put it in the comments. How do you, or would you incorporate, or have you incorporated Disney music into your weddings? Hawk, any idea? Did you incorporate any into your recent nuptials?
Well, we did. We had Happily Ever After. We played after we had signed off on everything, and kind of when we came back into the yard and started playing a little background music, that was one of the first songs we played. But I was a DJ for almost 30 years and did over 1,500 weddings, and I'd say maybe a dozen or so were almost exclusively Disney. Through cocktail hour, through the reception, through everything. The real fans will, and there's plenty of music to choose from. You can definitely get through a couple hours worth of music without a problem. Just the soundtrack to most of the movies that are musical based will last you a good 40 to 50 minutes. So there's a lot out there to choose from. And yeah, I've seen people use all kinds of stuff. I had a couple do their wedding recessional to Hakuna Matata. I had another one that did use you have a friend of me, and I've seen people do some funny ones as well. Just use some of the sound effects or lines or zingers. Everything from lines from Toy Story, lines from Winnie the Pooh, just all kinds of different things that people use as quotes or moments too. Because there's obviously some great and romantic lines you can use talking about friendship or love or compassion. There's some great ones that come out of Disney movies. We actually hired Justice of the Peace named Rev Kev, who's pretty big in this area here in Orlando. And he had he's done a couple of the Bachelorette and Bachelor weddings on television. And, he's done some big stuff, but he has in his selection quotes from Disney or Disney movies that you can incorporate into your vows and nuptials to be part of it. So, it's not just the music that people will use in those wedding ceremonies. Quite often it's Walt's own words talking about things. So, Jen definitely found out it was pretty amazing to do the impossible and get me to say yes again. No,
Yeah, we know that it's rather impossible sometimes just to deal with Hawk.
it was probably more impossible that I got her to say yes again.
Yeah, really, that's right.
So,
yeah,
but,
absolutely.
yeah.
And a lot of folks, I have another great way to incorporate Disney music into a wedding. Most do things for their rehearsal done, or a lot do a video, kind of a video tribute highlighting the bride and groom and through the years and things like that. So there's a ton of different songs that come to mind that you could use for
the ones
that particular bit. Yeah, there may be a few that I may be using.
That sounded more idea based, like project in the works.
Yeah, somebody may be cutting a wedding video very soon here, and so or a wedding preview video. So there may be a Disney song or two in there.
One more note on this before we leave. I know some people, I've seen this done. We did not do this. We weren't in a position to do it, but I've also seen people at their weddings do tributes to, usually it's a grandparent or a family member who's no longer with them. And Remember Me from Coco is a big song that gets played in some of those moments for people who aren't at the weddings as well. So kind of the joyful side, but also kind of that other side of things for those moments also, which is really cool.
Yeah, and it's that is another popular piece, and I've seen that particular song done at a wedding or two. All right, Matt, what else are you musing about?
All right, so something that we like to think deep about. So with the talk about Villain's Land, and I know we've talked about it briefly, but what underrated villain do you think needs to be represented in Villain's Land? Somebody that's not mainstream, like there's a lot of Maleficent and Ursula and stuff like that, but what's a villain that's just nobody really talks about, you don't really think about, that deserves to have a spot, either a ride, attraction, or some kind of presence in Villain's Land?
There are so many, and this is where you're getting to either your primary villain of that particular movie or story, or the secondary villains. I'm coming back to one, and Megan's probably going to smack me right through the internet because I'm coming back to Pain and Panic again. See, there you go. There's so much fun, and I could see. Okay, this might be a oxymoron, but Villain's Land kids area. Again, I know kind of weird there, but I could see them kind of being in a more kiddie oriented type of attraction experience or whatever from that. So Tom says AJ Arnold from the Kurt Russell Medfield movies. Boy, that is getting to some, long, obscure villains there. It's a good one, Tom. What do you think?
I think I would love to see Yzma and Kronk as a duo going through the park. Just there again, the banter. The thing about the underrated villains, the ones that tend to be underrated tend to be the ones with the sharpest wit and the funniest ones, like Yzma and Kronk, Hades, and Madame Mim. These hysterical characters, and so it's not just leaning into like the scare factor and the ooh, they're so awful. Cruella's after puppies and all this stuff, but the funny ones. That's what I would love to see, because those are the guest interaction that are just so much fun.
Yeah, they would be a lot of fun. All right, Hawk, what do you think? What would be some of your not so popular villains that might make their way into Villains Land in some way, shape, or form?
Ed.
Ed, as in Ed from the Lion King?
Yeah.
Awesome.
There
Yeah.
you go. Ed.
Ed and the other hyenas. I think the hyenas would be a fun like meet and greet, and just be a good little opportunity.
Mhm.
Maybe you could do a little barbecued food stand and have lion tips and but I mean, hey, if you're gonna go dark, right?
Well, it's true. Yeah. All right,
I like
Matt.
the idea of some of the non-leaders, though. I do think some of the follower villains would be really good ones to have.
Yeah. And then you could have like Simba sausage and lion tips. You make a
Whatever's
nice little
lying
sandwich
around.
barbecue out of it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh boy,
All right.
Hawks going all.
Matt,
Hawks
what villains
turning
would you
himself
do
into a
though?
villain.
You got to answer your own musing. What villains would you think about?
So I was thinking of like characters like Megan said, like you can go back and forth with like the character interaction. So I was thinking like Mother Gothel, like her.
Oh, she'd be
it's
wonderful.
Like, you can do better. This, that. Like it's always like a condescending kind of villain, or
Mhm.
even like Dr. Facilier, like kind of like trying to make a deal with you, like some kind of stand or something like that. I think those two would be kind of interesting to see in Villains Land. So
Yeah, Dr. Facilier would be a lot of fun because that actually could turn into some sort of actual performance, where, he does kind of his voodoo bit, and you could have almost think like what's currently there with, Belle in the Magic Kingdom and Enchanted Tales with Belle, that you could do sort of a small audience style, Dr. Facilier's, voodoo and his friends from the other side kind of thing like that, and do some sort of show. And with that, because of the nature of what he is doing, that would lend itself to some pretty interesting transformation technology and some neat effects that could be done and kind of create a really interesting story. So folks at home, again, don't forget to shout out as well as in your response to Matt's different musings. So Matt, what's next?
all right, so we're gonna kind of stick with like a character theme here, and something that I thought might be interesting is we've been turned into animated characters for Disney. So what movie, what world are you living in?
Well, I mean, it would almost be a given for me that I'd be somewhere as a character in The Lion King. And probably I would hope one of the lions in The Lion King. So I guess I'm out on the savannah, personally. Whether I'm hanging out with Mufasa and Simba and all that, or if I'm hanging out with Ed. So I don't know, but yeah, for me
Definitely
probably.
see you hanging out with Ed.
Yeah, you probably could see me
Every
hanging out
time
with
you're
Ed.
hanging out with me, you're kind of hanging out with Ed, Chuck.
So, but yeah, I would probably be, there on the Pride Lands and as part of the Lion King. So, Hawk.
Don't go to me next.
Oh,
Oh
no.
All right.
the
Megan.
first thing that popped in my head is send me into Riley's head with the rest of the emotions and just sign me up to be, snarky with.
I was just gonna say, sign you up to be Snark. That's your emotion.
I really just think like I could lean into that. I could live with those emotions. That'd be a lot of fun for me. And you definitely see me like elbowing people away. I want that control system. I want to be in charge. So Joy's gonna have her hands full with me, but
Where would you go, Matt?
I'm debating. I think my favorite movie is Aladdin. I just love, hanging out with the genie. Just the constant wit, the comedy. It just seems like it's.
You just want the three
That's so
wishes
fun.
from me. You don't
I
lie.
don't want the three wishes. I don't need the three wishes. That's the one wish to be in that movie. Fine. It just be a little too hot, I think, for me.
You might want to get two wishes because when it gets too hot, you can wish your way back out.
Well, it's true, yeah. So I'll save that other wish and the third wish, and I'll still wish the genie free, and he'll be good. So.
All right, Hawk, you've stalled enough.
So I don't know that I could do a movie. I don't think I'd want to go into a movie. I'd want to go into a classic short. Like
Caleb says he would love to live with Winnie the Pooh and friends.
I think back to like the classics with Donald Duck and Chip and Dale, and just being able to laugh and watch that crazy obnoxiousness all day long. I would find that extremely entertaining. and it would just not be boring for me. And I mean, and to hear Donald get ticked off at least once or twice a day and just rattle it up and, really let out a good, I could definitely get down with that. I'd be good hanging out with just Donald and getting angry at stuff.
That would be kind of interesting. Go ahead, Matt.
I thought of this as kind of like a this or that kind of thing. Speaking of Donald Duck, this or that, Donald Duck or Daffy from Looney Tunes.
Definitely Donald Barnum.
Yeah,
I would think so.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Daffy was so, of course, what some may not know is that, of course, the whole concept of the Warner Brothers, by the way, Tom says he wants to live in the Jiminy Cricket safety films from school. I'm no fool, no siree, I'm going to live to 103. Okay there, Tom. But, they're
Tom and I are close.
They're fun stuff. Of course, all of the Warner Brothers and the whole Looney Tunes was a spinoff out of Disney. Many of those artists were Disney artists at first, left Disney, and essentially Bugs Bunny was created as a response to Mickey Mouse because Mickey Mouse had started to become too kind of clean and wholesome, and they wanted something a little bit more, who was a little bit more of a troublemaker. And then you've got Daffy, who I think kind of came in and is a foil to that as well.
And neither Daffy nor Donald wear pants.
This is also true.
What's true?
This is very, very true. Another one that I might do, just as I was thinking about it, is it might be kind of cool to be on the grid in Tron. In some respects, that was kind of it's an interesting world to be in.
I think that's where after you're there a hot minute, death just seems imminent.
Well, I'm assuming that I can reprogram the thing that's happy, but
so I just no Tron for me.
No, there you go. So, all right, Matt, what are you musing about?
Ooh, so I believe it was announced recently that Banana Ball, Savannah Bananas, it's actually coming to Disney, I believe, next year.
Not the Savannah team, but yes, one of the other teams in the league is yes.
It's one of the new teams that they're introducing next year.
Yeah.
I forget what exactly it was called.
The Coconuts or Loconuts.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. But Banana Ball nonetheless.
Banana Ball, yeah. So it got me musing. What other sporting events or sports would you like to see hosted at Disney? I know they did I think they had the NBA during COVID, I believe. Like there was the Disney bubble and stuff like that. And I want to say back in the day, the Atlanta Braves used to have some exhibitions.
There were several baseball teams that used to do spring training at Wild World Sports.
But I feel like that died out. So, like, what kind of like those different kind of sporting events? Obviously, we're not getting the Super Bowl or World Series or anything like that done at Disney, but just like other like, family like sports that could be brought in that would also like generate more interest in the parks and stuff like that.
Anything but cheerleading and dance.
Yeah, that's obnoxious at this point, but that's just.
I'd like to see tennis. I've mentioned earlier in the show, growing up in St. Louis. St. Louis has the St. Louis Aces are the tennis team in the area, and every summer they'd have. Trying not to look at Hawk because it's like making me nauseous watching him go back and forth. but they would have, Andy Roddick would come and play. The Williams sisters came through and played, and they'd always have a pro come through and play. And that kind of tennis, it's not your deathly serious, it's not a grand slam. It's not like that. There's a lot of fun. Those players are hysterical and they enjoy having fun back and forth. So I think it's a really good atmosphere for that type of tennis. And kind of, again, drawing interest, not just to the parks, but also to the sport. Because I think a lot of people look at tennis and they're like, oh, this is really boring. Like, they're really serious. They're going at each other. The women get kind of towards each other at times. But it's a lot of fun.
You just made me think of something totally different, but it still would be incredibly intriguing and a great reality show. The ultimate furry competition. Characters dressed up. So Donald, Mickey, Goofy, Pluto, everybody has to partake in like a decathlon at the ESPN zone, but have like tennis, golf, baseball, like make all the characters play all the sports in costume out and then find the ultimate champion. And I think that I would watch that.
I think a lot of people would watch that.
That would be interesting.
And do it in July in Florida. Like, let's not mess around. Let's not mess around. If we're gonna go, let's go all in. This is some reality TV. I think we got to do this. And you could even make it a theme park competition. Take mascots and characters from other theme parks, bring them all, and see if Disney can dominate.
You could do a summer and a winter version and kind of like do it like the Olympics.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah, you could.
But then you got to hold the winter version in like Cedar Point though. Like you'd have to have it somewhere where there's gonna be snow. You can't be like, oh look,
go international, hold it at Disneyland Paris. It snows in Paris.
That doesn't work. In Southern California and Disney World. Okay, so we do have to build a Disney World park like in upstate New York. We just have to, because like if we're gonna do this, we need.
Well, we just finally do the Mineral King project that Walt Disney planned to do so long ago.
I think we're onto something. I think this is definitely a possibility.
That could be kind of
I think
interesting.
This could be the show that garnishes the call from Bob Iger, and he's ready to make a deal.
That's right.
Are you paying attention? Are you taking notes, guys?
There we go.
I feel this.
There we go. One that would be interesting, and Hawk, it's interesting you talked about it because it is kind of a combination thing between Disney and Universal, because NBC is Comcast, Comcast is Universal, but Premier League is hugely, hugely popular. And to bring Premier League teams to Wild World of Sports over the summer, and this is something that
they're not going to do it for you, Chuck. I know.
I know they won't.
I know you would love it.
I would love it. And I'll tell you why they won't do it. And it's the venue. They would have to do it in Camping World Stadium or something like that.
Even big. I don't even think that's big enough.
Camping World Stadium would be plenty big. Yeah, that would be plenty big. Camping World Stadium, what? I don't know, 60,000, something like that. It would be plenty big. But ESPN itself just doesn't have the venue to be able to hold that big of an event, because it would just be huge, depending on what clubs you get to come, and especially if you did a few of them. But to Matt's other point, I actually would like to see spring training return to ESPN. I thought it was a great option, and have that come back down.
Well, there's a lot of talk with the possibility that Orlando could still wind up with an MLB team in the next few years. Mm-hmm. So, like, if there is realistic chat of that, I could see that possibility coming into play. If they brought Major League Baseball to this area, and not even necessarily that team, but it just brings that fuel back again. It's been missing in Orlando a little bit. We've got the smaller baseball franchises and teams around that play year round. And then you have Tampa over on the other side. But this year that was kind of weird because they were confined to the smaller stadium due to the dome being destroyed by the hurricane. So it's been been interesting and different. I didn't realize Camping World Stadium was that big. It does seat 60,200.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
And 65,000 with temporary seating.
Yeah, no, it's pretty big. Again, Camping World Stadium hosts, I don't know how many, 1, 2, 3, at least 3, maybe 4 bowls every winter.
Yeah.
I mean, so no, it's plenty big. And there's another sporting event. Do the Disney Bowl, and actually have, an actual bowl sponsored by Disney, and come on in, and it's actually be the Disney Bowl, and you could have a lot of fun associated with that. So, Matt, did you share your own thoughts on this one?
Not yet. So I was thinking like a PGA, like was it the
Live Tour?
No. So like the PGA, but they'll do like with like celebrities and stuff like that, where there was the pro-am.
Oh, a pro-am.
Stuff like that. But like you could have an event.
We Happy Gilmore?
I mean, you could.
Yeah.
I mean, but then you have
Universal would have to give him the okay, but that would be pretty cool.
But I just think,
well, if memory serves, there was a PGA Tour event at Disney many, many years ago, and I think is it Magnolia that was the PGA course? Maybe it's one of the others. I'm trying to remember. But one of the courses at Disney did have a PGA Tour event years and years ago. It's been a long time. I would love to see a PGA Tour event come back.
I think one of the problems that they run into a little bit, and you see this on run weekends and you see it at other times, they are so busy now by volume. When you're doing these bigger events, it really throws a wrench in everything from transportation to accommodation. Just the cheerleading and dance events, you can sit in a couple hours worth of traffic just trying to get around the park as people are going in there. And when you're spending that kind of money and then you start stumbling into delays, I think, especially for big name teams, big name events, things like that, I think that's part of why you haven't seen it as much, to be honest. Just they're making their money. When they stop, you may see some of that come back to try to draw people in and find ways to do stuff. But when you don't need to draw more people in at some level, or you're starting to alienate the people you have drawn in, you have to walk that delicate line of balance with, convenience versus value. So it's got to kind of offset from a business standpoint. So I personally think that's some of the reason you don't see some of those bigger events taking place anymore, because you do hear people complain when they're going on.
Well, and also from a parking perspective, just alone, again, this is where we go back to ESPN not having the infrastructure to be able to handle, some of the big events, not just the parking, but even just the stands. There would have to be some significant infrastructure development to be able to do it. But
you could park them all at the Star Cruiser.
Yeah, really. They're just Imagineering offices right now. So here we go. So, all right. Hey, and folks, don't forget if you're watching live.
Pickleball courts.
Yes.
Cruiser pickleball. That would be awesome.
I thought of that as well, but it's not. It's becoming big, but like to get like
it's huge.
Like that in, that'd be interesting.
It's probably at this point on the backside more than it's on the front side. That got so big for a while.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, pickleball is being added as an Olympic sport. If I'm not, I could be wrong on that, but I think.
Yeah, so was breakdancing brilliant.
Well, true.
But let's be totally honest. I don't know what that gold medal winner was, but woo.
Yeah, little different. All right, Matt, what's another musing?
All right, so something that we might have bounced around here and there, but with all the renovations going on, so if you could just eliminate a ride at Magic Kingdom right now, what would it be? But it can't be the Speedway. In whatever size building, yeah, I know. Everybody says the Speedway. We're gonna just eliminate the Speedway staying. So you're gonna eliminate something else. But you can only you can't like knock down walls, do whatever. You've got to keep basically whatever size building or area you've got. That's all you've got to work with.
All right. Well, Matt, we'll let you start first since this was your music.
That changed. That last caveat changed.
Yeah, it did.
Thinking.
So you got it. So hang on before. So the space has to be exactly the same. You're just essentially putting something new in there, but nothing can change about it.
Right. I mean, if you want to change like a ride track, you can, or something like that, like the type of ride. But so I kind of struggled with this. For me personally, I'm getting rid of Peter Pan. I can't stand that ride. It's overrated for a 30-second little ride that hasn't changed in forever. So either I think they have to refurbish it or just can it.
Folks,
but
send
what
all
I
those hate
replace it
emails to Matt at.
I'll take them. It's fine. But what to replace it with? That's what I struggled with. Just because it is such a short ride that I didn't really have a valid replacement for it. So
Tom says, put the Muppet Show in the laugh floor.
if anybody out there has an idea what you would replace Peter Pan with, let me know. I'll sign the petition.
Share out, guys, if you've got other ideas as well. All right, Hawk, what's there for you, buddy?
All right. I'm taking out Seven Dwarfs Mine Train.
You're doing what?
I'm taking out Seven Dwarfs Mine Train.
More hate mail.
That
Okay.
Wow.
That is the biggest waste of space called a roller coaster in all of Magic Kingdom. It was a very cool concept, but they over-engineered a roller coaster so that it doesn't have a thrill factor. That is an overpriced kiddie coaster. I am retheming that totally, and I am creating a Disney version of Velocicoaster
Knew it.
right there.
Velocicoaster 2.
But no.
That's going to be the tightest Velocicoaster ever.
Toy Story themed Rex's Revenge right in the center, right there. Either maybe Rexcelerator. Like we're gonna go crazy with this. And T-Rex is getting some representation and a thrill ride at Magic Kingdom. Bye-bye Snow White's slow coaster.
Oh, wow. Well,
So I was gonna actually bring this up later on as like a this or that, but hey, Hawk, you have to close one roller coaster forever: Guardians of the Galaxy or Velocicoaster.
Guardians of the Galaxy. See you later.
wow.
Wow, he didn't without hesitation. I thought
Without
that they would
hesitation,
not
yeah.
do
I
it.
mean, didn't blink an
I'm
eye.
with Hawk.
Again on
Wow.
Velocicoaster. You were never gonna be like you could put it up against anything in the world. I met Jen on Velocicoaster. That's the one I always want to be able to go back and ride,
Wow.
and cherish being able to have met my wife to ride that ride. So that's there's emotional reasons for that. Like that's just hands down a winner.
All right, Megan. So you've got to, and this is Magic Kingdom only, right? Right, Matt?
Yep.
Okay. You have to swap
Sure,
out a
clarify
current
that
attraction.
now for sure.
I'm getting rid of Tiana's. I haven't ridden it yet. I don't want to ride it. I don't care. And I'm putting in Emperor's New Groove, and wrong levers sends you down that hill, because that's something that fans have been asking for. Like, we wanted the wrong lever roller coaster for a long time. And if I'm going to get dropped that far, because I have nightmares, y'all, where I fall out of that log. Okay. I do not like that. I don't like any iteration of that.
Have
ride.
you ever
I don't like-
fallen out of the log?
Not yet, but I don't ride it that often either. I'm trying to keep my chances low here.
Mark, I agree.
Mark Jones is with you. Bye-bye, Tiana.
Here's the thing. When you said
And by the way, can we note that in his picture here is a shot, I believe that is from the originals. No, that's Expedition
that's
Everest.
Everest.
That's Ocean Everest, sorry.
But I will say, and I want to be clear, the reason I chose Snow White's was because of the footprint. You said you can't change the space. I wouldn't have been able to make a roller coaster the way I want to out of what is Splash Mountain. Like, you know what I mean? So Seven Dwarfs makes sense for the space with what I wanted to do. But I would have ditched Tiana's in a hot second. Like I that would be my ride to see ya. 100%.
Yeah, Mark actually agrees with you. Says, I don't know about Seven Dwarfs. It is enjoyable, but it does take up a huge amount of real estate. And that's the nature of a roller coaster. They just, that's not something they could do in a small amount of space. So
That's what was amazing with Velocicoaster, though. When you actually go look at the space and the footprint that occupies, it's super small.
Mm-hmm.
Like for a coaster of that intensity and that length, that's a super small footprint.
Well, what they do a nice job with it is that it takes up a fair amount of space, but it's all kind of shoehorned in between everything else. And so it uses up space that otherwise would be unusable.
I mean, there's 3 tiers of track that go over each other. It's Tiana's is just
rideability isn't there. So
Mark, I'll be honest, we rode it once and broke down at the end and had to get evacuated and walk out the very last section. And we have no interest in riding it again. I have zero interest in getting on that ride again.
So I would probably, I've been going back and forth on this. Obviously, Tom said it earlier. This is what I immediately went to was, of course, Muppets and Laugh Floor. But I would probably say going back to Stitch's Great Escape Alien Encounter, which currently has nothing in it at all. And I would actually put in something, and I would almost go a sort of retro-ish and figure up some sort of flight to the whatever. Not probably Flight to the Moon because that's a little bit old now. But flight to something and create a next level. Think like a Star Tours where because it's a simulator style thing. But if there was a way to, in fact, Caleb says, same, I'd rather see a Lion King water log attraction like what Disneyland Paris is getting, which would be really, really cool. But some sort of interactive experience that uses a space that, frankly, right now is not even being used. So I think we've got just enough time for one more musing, Matt.
Okay. Give me 1 second. I gotta see what I have. Okay, so we'll kind of end it on like a sappy moment, if you will. So we were talking about, Hawk had mentioned, emotional reasons why he likes Velocicoasters. So what is your favorite Disney memory? We'll end it with that.
Oh, wow. I'll open that one up. And I think I've talked about it on the show before. My favorite Disney memory comes from 2007, June of 2007. It was the first time we took our kids to Walt Disney World. It was Star Wars weekends, and we had spent, the day at Disney's Hollywood Studios. And my son physically self-imploded when he saw his first Stormtrooper just gone. That was it. He was done. So, but we had taken the water boat over to the Friendship boat over to the International Gateway. And coming in through the International Gateway and around the Canada side, of course, you don't really see Spaceship Earth unless you go over the bridge to France. But if you stay on the walkway, you don't see Spaceship Earth. And so it was coming around, passing Canada, and you have this reveal. And then you see Spaceship Earth at the monorail and all that right there. I had not been to Disney for 20, 25 years. I had been to Epcot like in 1983. It was as if I met an old friend that I had not seen for decades. And I just stopped and I stared. And I remember it incredibly vividly of that moment. And just literally saying, hello, old friend. So that is one of my favorite memories. Mark has a favorite memory that he talks about. Actually, he's told me this before. Haunted Mansion backstage, no doubt. Then he got to explore Audio Room 7 that controls that section of the park. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He was had a great opportunity to do that through an education piece there. So, Meaghan, your favorite memory?
Oh, there's so many of them. I think there are a lot of I grew up going to Disney with my family, so I have a lot of memories of my parents and my brother and me when we were younger going different pieces that come back. The first time my son turned the corner on Main Street and saw the castle and bent over and goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. And he's one. And it was just the cutest thing. I've been there with a couple of my friends the very first time in their 40s that they had ever been to Disneyland or Disney World, and to see them get emotional the first time they see one of the castles and get that attachment that I've had my entire life. There are just so many of them, but all of them aren't so much me experiencing things in the park. It's about the people that I'm with and how they felt and seeing how they felt in that moment of experiencing the parks. So I think that's what it is for me. It's getting to be there with the other people in my life and seeing them experience something Disney for the first time or in a new way.
All right, Hawk.
Probably my daughter's first trip in 2012. The first time we went and got her into the park, and the Move It Shake It parade was coming around, and Donald got off the back of one of the floats and took her by the hand and started dancing, and just being able to kind of sit back and watch that all happen organically for the first time, unplanned, didn't know what to expect from her with the park. She was obviously excited to be there, but seeing Donald, really go, like, that was my favorite character, and seeing her kind of have a moment with Donald right there, that was probably my favorite memory. We've done some amazing things and made some amazing memories over the years, and had some really cool things happen, from getting pictures with the entire Lion King cast backstage to, doing other things where we were able to enjoy amazing memory making moments together, or unique experiences, or getting a re-ride on a ride and then another re-ride. I think one time we rode like Space Mountain like 7 times in a row. They just kept saying, "You want to go?" And then, we were such regulars with Dinosaur and Animal Kingdom that they knew us by name and would say, "Oh, you guys, nope, you get to go again if you want." And they made people wait and let Tegan and I ride by ourselves in a car. And I was like, this is crazy. I've never seen anything like this. And they just kept sending her through until she didn't want to go anymore. And then they stopped us. But every time we pulled up, we switched seats. And we rode so many times that we got to sit in all the seats in the dinosaur car. And then my back was just toast. But memories like that, just the magic of Disney. We all have multiple moments. We've been there enough times that I think it's really just too hard to pick one. Mm-hmm. But if I had to, it was the very first time I saw my daughter see Disney through her eyes. And that was super, super cool.
All right, Matt, close us out.
Yeah, I'm going the same route as when we took my daughter for the first time. Just seeing her reactions to everything. And I still vividly remember just watching the fireworks, the night show at Magic Kingdom, and she's just staring there in this absolute awe, just fixated on everything. And I just remember, I think my dad was holding her at the time. She was sitting up and doing whatever, and just seeing that moment, it's like, wow, like, it was just mind blowing. Like, I'm here with, both my parents, I'm here with my daughter, my wife, and stuff like that. And it was just,
and you're like, this is so worth the $22,000.
Maybe not 22, but yeah, I mean, it's just like, this is what it's about. It's that. It was just mind boggling. Like, back in the day, it's just like, I'm never gonna, it almost seems like a pipe dream. It's just like, yeah, we'll never get here. It's kind of, Disney's for some people, it is that, once in a lifetime opportunity. But to have
100%. And I think one thing as we close out tonight too, that's something to really remember for the people that get to go all the time and get to experience things and get frustrated sometimes when people may behave a certain way or have a kid on their shoulders during the fireworks or have something. Keep in mind that could very well be that one shot, that one day, that may be that child's only opportunity to see the fireworks. And that dad may be saying, you're going to see the fireworks, kid. And, just trying to remember and have a little grace. We can also, we can all be a little kinder and a little less frustrated at times in the parks,
Chuck, can we stick Mark's comment back up? Because I love this. Him saying that his most sentimental is when my older teenage kids sang with reckless abandon at the top of their lungs to Happily Ever After from the courtyard of Pecos Bill. Some of my favorite people at the parks are the teenagers who were too cool for this vacation until they got there. And two, I think my absolute favorite Disney visitor is the dad who is covered in tattoos, shaved head, wife beater, but he's got on Mickey ears. He's carrying around his little princess. And you can tell that at home, he's probably like scary badass, but at the
And he's
Disney
got the lounge fly on for the wife. Yeah. Got the lounge fly on the back. Yeah,
Yep.
Disney
that's the guy.
transforms everybody, and I like that. That's the Disney magic right there. Is that anybody who doesn't want to be there or whatever, those people when they light up in the parks is just the best, absolute best.
That's
It-
Chuck.
Yeah, I've already done mine, so yeah, there you go. But yeah, so hey, we want to say a huge thank you for Matt and Matt's Musings. If you like this this show topic, be sure to comment out on this episode, and a huge thank you also to Caleb, to Mark, who are here. Tom also joined us as well. Remember, we do this live every Tuesday night here on Facebook and on YouTube, so be sure to come and join us. If you've enjoyed tonight's show, be sure to share out and encourage others to join us. It's a lot of fun when we have plenty of people in the conversation as well. So again, a huge thank you for Matt for coming up for his musings tonight. Don't forget, coming up next week, it is the 4th Tuesday. You know what that means. Game night is back. It's time for game night. Until then, we'll see you on MouseKast, the podcast where the mind meets the magic. Until next time, we'll see you.
Welcome to the MouseKast podcast. It's yet another Tuesday night, but tonight you determine our topics as you join us for all. Thank you for listening to MouseKast.
Helps if I play the right video, folks.
Appreciate the time you share with us. And tonight was a very fun show, and joining us is a must. This is where the mind meets the magic. We dive a little deeper every time. Theme parks, cruise ships, and travel. If you don't listen, maybe now it's time.